Well, this is going to be the first face-to-face meeting between the president and Aung San Suu Kyi. As you know, the Aquino family has long ties with Aung San Suu Kyi. President Cory Aquino was one of the leaders during her time that was very vocal in support of Aung San Suu Kyi and human rights and democracy in this country, in Myanmar. When President Aquino first assumed the presidency, he also was one of the ASEAN leaders that was most vocal in prodding the government of Myanmar towards reform. It should also be recalled that when President Tin Sen and the government of Myanmar did begin to implement vigorously the kind of economic and political reforms that the world, that the international community was asking for, it was President Aquino who was one of the first leaders who encouraged the initial moves of the government of Myanmar. The meeting between President Aquino and Aung San Suu Kyi is really a culmination of all of these efforts between the two leaders and the two countries over the last several decades. So it's only appropriate that two leaders known for their commitment to democracy in this region will meet. Of course, they will probably discuss the situations, just update each other what's happening here in Myanmar. The president will probably talk a little bit about what's happening in the Philippines. It's a good time for them to meet because our two countries are now kind of in the spotlight. We have undertaken reforms in the economic sector. They have undertaken reforms economically and politically. We are both under the spotlight now of the world. People are looking to the Philippines as possible investment sites. They're impressed with our economic growth and our reforms. It's the same thing with Myanmar. People are very impressed with the reforms that are taking place here. And I think both countries understand the need to move forward some more, no? that the work is not complete. So there will be a lot of things for the president to discuss with Aung San Suu Kyi along those lines. Incidentally, he's going to meet also with the president of Myanmar, and I think the discussions will be quite similar in that sense because we have shared experiences now. We're two countries coming up from periods of stagnation, and we're both trying to revive our economies. So there will be a lot of things to discuss.
Sir, I think there are concerns that the reforms might not continue and may possibility pa rin na mag-backslide. How do we, what would the President's message be to the Myanmar President and Aung San regarding this perception?
Well, I think that that perception is that it's true. You hear that among different analysts around the region and even around the world. And I think it's important for us to encourage the steps of the Myanmar government in the right direction. As I said, the president was our president was one of the early leaders to express support. Once they had, remember, he was very vocal about reform. And when they began the reforms, he was one of the first leaders to express support. I remember him meeting with a number of European world leaders. And President Aquino was being asked what he thought about what's going on here in Myanmar. And he said, the government needs to be encouraged to continue its reforms. And they must be given, the inputs must be constructive. And so I think along those lines, you can always say there's always a risk of backsliding, but the more the international community encourages it, the more the people and the government of Myanmar see that it's in their interest to continue the path of reform, then I think the danger of backsliding diminishes.
Sir, can you expect the President to recommend some strategies on the reforms or how to grow the economy?
I'm not sure if it's going to be the president recommending. I think the president would not presume to tell people to tell this government what to do. I think we're going to encourage them, and I think if they want to know what our experiences are, then the president and I think the other members of the cabinet might be very willing to share their experiences. But I don't think it would go to the point where we would be making overt recommendations.
Can you cite some possible areas for cooperation between the two countries?
Well, we're both looking at, well, not just in the two countries, but I think the whole region in general now. People are looking at Myanmar, the Philippines, in the context also of ASEAN and areas where we can cooperate with them. would be working together to harmonize regulation. Um, I'll give you an example. When you invest, when you bring goods into the Philippines or Indonesia or Myanmar or Malaysia, you don't necessarily get those goods taxed at the same rate. Neither are they necessarily classified in the same way. So we need to harmonize regulations along the region, and that includes, of course, the Philippines and Myanmar. Um, they're trying to develop tourism. I think we're exchanging notes. Secretary Mon Jimenez, who arrived yesterday morning, has been in meetings the whole day yesterday, and he's in meetings right now with his counterparts and other tourism officials. I think we can both learn from other countries how we can move our tourism campaigns forward. And I think the market is big enough. I don't think it's going to be a question of will you visit the Philippines or will you visit Myanmar. I think the tourism market is growing enough that we can both benefit.
Trade. What about trade?
Trade, I think, as you know, trade is not very large at this point. The Myanmar economy is still relatively small, but we're hoping that with this visit, we can become more aware of the opportunities here. As you know, there is a small business delegation. Jaime Zobel is here, and he's going to be looking around. I'm sure that as we come here and talk to people, our counterparts, they will be also interested in knowing what's happening in our country. So hopefully a visit like this will deepen the interest and lead eventually to perhaps trade delegations to explore more concretely what we can do together, or what areas we can invest in here and what areas they can invest in the Philippines.
And express interest in getting from the Philippines, like the workforce there or the expertise in building?
I have not heard any explicit requests for that kind of assistance or information. But I do know we have about 500 Filipinos living here, and many of them, yeah, mostly professionals, engineers, development workers, people working in NGOs. They need a managerial expertise that many Filipinos have, and I think going back to your earlier question, Cynthia, what areas can we help in? I think we have a managerial expertise that might be useful to Myanmar as they develop their economy. There's been no formal offer of exchange or anything like that, but just looking at how, I mean, in the short time we've been here, looking at what they might need and what we might be able to provide, I think the kind of human capital that we have would be useful here. It's like if you go to Indonesia, diba? A lot of the Filipinos who work in Indonesia are managers, they're executives. So that kind of skilled manpower is something that you could imagine would be needed here as well. There will be a plenary. He will say something at the plenary. So yeah, I guess he will have an opportunity to address the session.
And make some recommendations.
I'm not sure what he's going to say about the recommendations. I actually haven't gone over that particular speech yet. No? But remember that our point of coming here is ultimately we want investors to come to the Philippines, and we want to assure them that there's money to be made in the Philippines as investors, and that we look forward to them coming in and building our infrastructure, investing in our tourism, investing in our agriculture, creating jobs. We've been the subject of a lot of positive international media coverage in the last several years. And attending events like this, participating in events like World Economic Forum, and in 2015 hosting APEC, these are all things that help make the Philippines more central in the global imagination. Like, for example, I just my personal experience, I've never been here, I've never seen this place, but now that I'm here, I've been here for what, 24 hours, maybe less. I don't know, you're just looking out of curiosity. Ooh, looks like they could use some of this, some of that. So you find opportunities. And I think just having people come here to Myanmar gets people curious about it. And it's the same thing, it's the same strategy that we're trying to do. Why are we engaging in all of these events? Why are we participating? Because we want people to come to the Philippines and see for themselves what opportunities are there. Yeah. I mean, we're not generating those positive
sit down
reviews
and
so we can feel good. We're generating those positive reviews so we can create jobs, investments, and all of that.
Pwedeng mga natin. Iba na.
Kayo?
Yun na, yung kay NJPE. Resignation.
Huh?
Pwede ba yun?
Well, first let me say this, that is an internal matter for the Senate. The concern of Malacanang has always been that we will get a Senate that will be supportive of the reforms that we intend to pursue in the next 3 years. And to the extent that the Senate reconfiguration is going to help us do that, then we welcome it. However, let me say that the President has always had great respect for former Senate President Enrile, and there should be no rancor in this, and this should not change the relationship of the President with the Senate President. However, politics being what it is, there is going to be a new majority, and we look forward to working with them as well.
No LP handling is, what about LP? What's the role of LP?
Well, I think LP is putting together a coalition, a majority coalition. I think that's been said pretty much by Senator Drilon and confirmed by Senator Villar. So I think you'll see the LP and the NP creating a bloc in the Senate, which would eventually form the majority. I mean, that's how it looks from what we see. But the president has not wanted to be picking personalities over one personality over another. The president wants to have good relations with each of the individual senators. But what we've said in the beginning is that we want a majority that is going to be supportive of the reforms that we have to undertake. And that's really the bottom line for the president.
And that's not in the case of Enrile as Senate President, with Enrile as Senate President.
Well, in fairness to Senator Enrile, we did manage to get some of the legislation passed during his term. But, that was not easy work.
May na-pass tayong pero medyo
Oo,
hirapan.
pero hirap tayo, no? Halata namang hirap tayo. And I think moving forward, the reforms we want to put forward are not going to be easy, and it would be better for us if we had a more comfortable majority in the Senate. And with the midterm election, I think it's clear that we will have a more comfortable majority in the Senate.
What about in the House, status quo?
In the House, I think the LP
House
has picked up a number of seats, strengthening the Liberal Party there. We don't expect any changes in the House leadership. We think the House leadership so far has done a great job of supporting the President's initiatives, and we don't anticipate any changes there. I don't have any personal awareness of that. I do know that the President is keen to tap the expertise of Senator Lacson. As you know, the President and Senator Lacson were good colleagues in the Senate, and they did a lot of work together in investigating corruption in the previous administration. So we would welcome Senator Lacson in the executive.
What about Senator Pangilinan?
I understand the President also has said that we're looking for a place for Senator Pangilinan.
Revamp or wala ka lang other changes? Acosta, Neris Acosta.
Sorry? Yeah?
What about Neris Acosta?
I'm not aware of
Will he stay?
I'm not aware of him moving anywhere. But maybe it's just I'm just not aware.
Yeah, because of the perjury charges.
Yeah. Jen. I'm not exactly sure. That's being set up by Ayala, and they're the ones who have put the ones together. We're not sure because who is attending. At least I'm not sure which ones have attended, and of those who confirmed attendance, who is actually going. So we'll know sooner. I guess by today I can give you a better idea who's attending.
Bilateral meetings wala.
Bilat with Tinsen, and then with. Well, I don't think you can. Well, there's going to be a meeting with Aung San Suu Kyi, but officially, I don't think you'd call it a bilat. It's a planned city, and they've planned this for. I'm not a city planning expert, so I don't know if you should quote me on this. But there are basically two ways how a city develops. One is organically, the way Manila developed organically. We found the need, we built the thing, and then there are centrally planned cities like this, like Canberra, like Washington D.C. So that's the argument of city planners. What's better, a planned city or an organic city? Sometimes it works one way, sometimes it works another way. Certainly, the infrastructure we've seen here is impressive, and it shows us that they seem to be very serious in their efforts to attract investments. Yes, many of the people who have come to Myanmar, including myself, are part of the committee that is going to organize our hosting of World Economic Forum and of APEC. So we hope to learn some lessons from the examples here from our counterparts.
Yung wala pang venue sa akin. Ano possible?
Okay, we haven't finalized the venue yet for next year, but logistically, it seems like Manila would be the easiest, given the infrastructure that's already there, given the number of hotel rooms, convention centers. Manila is logistically the best. Now, that doesn't mean we're not open to some of the side meetings occurring in other parts of the country, and we're not closing the door to other cities hosting it, but if you just look at it from a logistical point of view,
It's a top choice.
that would be the most convenient.
For APEC, same.
APEC, well, that's quite a long time away, and there's certainly many cities that have asked to be able to host at least some of the meetings, some of the ministerial meetings. So we're looking into that. A lot of things can happen in the next 3 years, but let me just say that without making a final decision, without having made a final decision yet, that just offhand, I think you'll all agree, logistically, Manila would be the easiest.
That's wet.
Both.
APEC and wet.
For both,
Yeah.
both, I think.
Yeah, but let me say again, dagdag ko lang, it's not been a final
Ideally,
decision.
that's ideal.
It's just easy. That's the easy answer, and that's because of the logistics. DOF, DBM, DFA, ES, Cabinet Secretary, DOT, DTI. It's a big committee.